Hey, 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 what is up? What's happening? I'm super excited to be on here. We have a powerhouse interview with you here today. This is someone that I think is absolutely awesome. And I had such an amazing interview on his platform about a couple of weeks ago, maybe. I don't remember exactly. But it was really, really cool. And I'm like, you gotta come on my show. And so here we are. I begged, I pleaded, I pulled his arm, I bribed him perhaps, and we have him over here. So I'm really fired up about this. It's going to be amazing. And so drop a comment. Let me know. Are you on here? Erica in the house. What's up? What a powerhouse name. Erica Cabrera Bueno. I like it. That's amazing. Judy Bappy. Am I saying that right? What's up? What's going on? All right. So this guy has accomplished a lot, and he has a brand new book out as well, which we're gonna talk about. I'm super excited. It's a book you must possess immediately. But I want to share with you a couple highlights of his really, really impressive career. And so he has studied human behavior for 32 years. He does have a master's in psychology. He's an award-winning hypnotist. And so, hopefully he won't make me do anything weird or anything, right? But he has facilitated over 15,000 individual hypnosis sessions. That's a lot of sessions. And he's made over 50 television appearances. He's authored 6 books. He's the founder of the Global Legend Summit. And his latest book is called One Belief Away. And again, I had such a good interview over on his page a few weeks back, I believe, that I'm like, please come on, please. And he said, okay, fine. And so here he is, Tim Shurr. Tim, how are you?
Hey, Ray, it is an honor and a privilege to be with you and all your viewers and listeners today. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so show us the book. Like where first, I just want to see where's oh, it's right there. Okay, yeah, you never know which way to
pull it off the shelf. Yeah, there we go. One Belief Away. I wrote it with my buddy Joe Vitale, and
oh my goodness,
it really does teach you how to create whatever it is that you desire by recognizing what your blind spot is, and that blind spot is a belief. And when you shift that belief, when you go from I can't to I can, from I'm going to run out of money to no, money's around me all the time, I'm fully prosperous, from I'm not very lucky to I'm the luckiest person I know. When you switch those beliefs, everything else changes. And what people try to do is they fix those external situations instead of going within. And that's why we have so much of the struggle and anxiety. So it really is. This book is the cure for self-sabotage and anxiety.
Wow. That's amazing. Well, I have not yet gotten my copy. I'm going to. I want to read it because it's one of those topics that is so important because you can shovel all this strategy stuff, against the wall. But if it's a paradigm or if it's a belief problem, then it's just like, you're just being pummeled with strategies and a to-do list that may not even get executed. But I'm really excited about that. So how'd you get into all this?
Well, I started out trying to figure out how to get rid of my own anxiety. I had a lot of, people go through what I call big T and little T traumas, right? We all get hurt or embarrassed or, like someone who doesn't like us, or you strike out for the big game, or a teacher humiliates you in front of the class, and, or you have a tough time with your parents, or, we all have stuff. And then there's the big T traumas. Where there's a death, there's abuse, there's, some kind of harm that happens that really hurts us mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. And so I had both. Of those happen. My dad was blown up in a big accident at a steel mill and was burned severely. And he lived. We thought he was going to die, but he didn't. He pulled through. And it's not the experience, it's the beliefs that come from that experience. It's what we think it means. And so my brain shifted from, instead of playing life to win, I was playing not to lose. How do you not lose? Because something bad could happen at any time. And I just was riddled with this anxiety.
You didn't get blown up, right? You were avoiding getting burned and everything.
Yeah. My dad had all these scars on the outside. I had all these scars on the inside, which are the hardest scars because you don't see them. Right. And so And I didn't know any of this stuff at the time. I just knew that I was scared a lot. I seemed to attract every bully that lived, and I was always holding back. I desperately wanted to be liked and approved of and appreciated, and so it kind of turned me into the class clown. And so as I continued to go through life, it was hard. It was difficult, and so I got into psychology because I thought, well, maybe I can figure me out. And good luck. And even when I became a psychotherapist, I think it was more psycho than therapist. And just trying to figure out, how can I have peace in my heart? How can I actually set a goal and achieve it? How can I stop chasing approval or money and just attract it and draw it to me? When can I feel like I have enough? Because I never felt like I ever had enough. No matter what I had, it just didn't matter because I could lose it. Right. And so years and years of training. And then I had an experience where I was, they had a hypnotist that came to one of our psychology classes, and they asked for a volunteer, and I volunteered. I didn't know anything about it. I'm like, well, I'll cluck like a chicken, but right. It was I got so relaxed, and it was the first time that anxiety went away.
Wow.
I'm like, what is this? I'm like, Ray, this blew my mind. What is this? That all of a sudden I feel this sense of peace. I felt confident all week. Now it went away and the anxiety came back because I was good at doing anxiety. I wasn't good at doing confidence. I didn't know how to use that strategy. So I used what I had learned. And, and so years later, I've been at this game 32 years now, and I facilitated all these sessions with a passion of figuring out what's going on in our unconscious mind, not our conscious mind where we mostly live trying to figure things out. But what happens in our unconscious mind that causes us to behave the way that we do and feel the way that we do. And so I've been doing it ever since. And I've learned a huge amount about us, especially about achievers and entrepreneurs like us who want to live our best lives and not settle, like what your book says and what your t-shirt says. Why do we have to settle? Why do we have to choose?
Right.
Why can't we have it all?
Right. Are there some... because our audience is network marketers, entrepreneurs, mainly work from home. Mm-hmm. Are there categories of, or maybe different categories of like problems that you've been able to help and identify and common kind of, solutions, I guess is what I'm looking for?
That's an awesome question, because a lot of times we feel like because people are talented, we want to help everybody. I can help everybody, right? But people are better at some things than others. Like you are the go-to guy in this world. If someone wants to grow their networking company and have a bigger vision and pull it off, and the how-to and the strategy, I mean, that's you. There's no one better than you at that. For me, what I'm best at is helping people resolve what I call achiever syndrome. And that's when we vacillate between I'm going to conquer the world and I'm a loser and I'm full of anxiety and I'm a fraud and it's all going to fall apart.
Talk to that for sure.
That constant struggle of never being enough. I mean, I coach high achievers. I coach diamonds in Amway. I would be flown in to do these big conferences, and they'd have the Corvettes and the Hummers and and all the fancy toys, and I would come in and I would teach the people who are already amazing how to take it to the next level by getting into their mind and getting into their beliefs and finding out what their blind spots were, because we all have them. And so what I found is that a lot of high achievers have that anxiety inside where it's never enough. You feel guilty if you relax. It's hard to let go. It's hard to spend time. You create all this experience so that you can have freedom, but then you never really have the freedom, because you feel like you should be working, you should be with your family more, you should be doing more of this. And when you're with your family, you're like, man, I'm going to have 1,000 emails waiting for me, or we need to get this other program.
So it's like mom guilt or business guilt.
Yeah.
But it's gotta be guilt.
Yeah. Either way, it's guilt, right? It's not a sense of peace. And I remember I had, I had $500 in the bank and I had $100,000 in the bank, and I had the same exact feeling of it's not enough. I'm going to run out. And that's when I realized it's not about the money. It's not about these ideas of where we think we need to be. It's about this deep down fear that I have to keep proving myself that if I stop it for any amount of time, it's going to fall apart. And so that anxiety and drive that causes us to be super achievers is the same anxiety that holds us back from actually enjoying what we create.
Right. Yeah. And a lot of people, I'm reading the comments, a lot of people are resonating with this, need to hear this. So what are some of, if someone is on here, if someone's on here and they experience exactly what you're talking about, of either, feeling like a fraud, worried that they're going to lose it all, being guilty about, one way or another, mom guilt or business guilt. What's some advice? I mean, of course, they need to get your book, One Belief Away. Incredible. But what is some advice that maybe you share in the book?
Sure, absolutely. So one of the strategies that I use, I'm going to give you, it's my 5-step strategy for what you can do. So if you're listening right now or watching this, then grab some paper and a pen and write these down. So the first one is, step 1 is, what's my fear? What am I really afraid of? And then what's the belief behind that feeling? Because fear is a feeling, it's an emotion, and our emotions are driven by beliefs, by ideas. And so what is the idea behind it? So with fear is, I'm going to run out of money. Well, what would you have to believe in order to think that you're going to run out of money? And then you keep asking yourself that one question over and over. What is it that I really would have to believe? That I'm not smart enough, that I'm not resourceful enough, that I'm not lucky enough, that I'm not good enough? Out of all the fears that we have, the fear of rejection, the fear of failure, the fear of success, the fear of humiliation, the fear of embarrassment or abandonment, people are going to leave me. The biggest fear that creates all of those other fears is, I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. And because I'm not enough, I won't be loved. So how do I get love? Do I have to be the superstar? Do I have to be the caretaker? Do I have to be the one who's always positive? Am I the one who is the people pleaser? Am I the one who can never say no? Right. And so it develops these dysfunctional strategies inside of us as a way of us trying to feel loved and to feel safe. So
what I just want to point out, what a great phrase, dysfunctional strategies. And I love that you're saying, because you said step 2, what's the belief behind it? And so, that you probably have to ask the question a lot. For example, I had to dig deep to find out the reason I didn't trust people and I kept people at bay is because a guidance counselor let me down in the 3rd grade. Right. Mm-hmm. My wife, up until the last few years, maybe a few years ago, this changed, but for several years, no matter how much money we made, it was always a stress about, do we have enough money in the bank? The bank is down a little bit. And she had to figure out that, that was because her mom had money and lost it all. Mm-hmm. Right? And that's not obvious. You don't say, I'm worried like my mom, I'm going to lose, right? You got to ask the questions.
Yeah. We just walk around saying, I'm just stressed. I'm just tired, because we can't slow down enough to really figure out why, because we're too busy trying to make it happen. And we're in survival mode. So we can't slow down. Sharks, they call it Shark Tank on TV, because if sharks stop swimming, they drown.
Right.
So we feel like we have to have momentum. The worst thing that an entrepreneur or a network marketer could hear is feeling stuck.
Yeah.
Ugh, stuck? Are you kidding me? I don't get stuck. Right? That's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to sleep for a week.
Right.
And but that's not how you develop your authentic self. So now let me point out what you said, because there's so much wisdom in what you said. It was something that's affecting you as an adult that happened in 3rd grade. Okay. That's also what I found out from doing thousands and thousands of sessions for, 27 years. What I found out was that it always goes back to our childhood. 99.9% of the time, it goes back to something that happened when we were a kid. So as an adult, we don't connect the dots. We think it's the economy. We think it's the pandemic. We think it's our spouse. We think it's our family not being supportive. We think of it's just, I'm getting older. I just don't have the energy that I used to. Or, clients are cheap or saving their money now and they don't want to spend it. Or, there's always some external thing. It couldn't possibly be because of an experience that I had, or a set of experiences that I had when I was 10 years old. But that's exactly what I keep finding, every single time.
Yeah, I was curious on that. I was going to ask you, is it every single time? Sounds like it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Occasionally it's because you got to deal with the situation or because you do need a more effective strategy. I mean, it's not always because we have a limiting belief, but almost always it is.
Yeah.
Or the belief that's getting in our way that keeps us from finding that more effective strategy or using our time more effectively or delegating in a more effective way or communicating in a more effective way. The problem with our blind spots is that we don't see them, and that's why it's so hard to change on your own. Because we just don't recognize it. So you have to have some kind of strategy. So step one is you figure out what's the fear, start with the feeling. Now, what would I have to believe in order to feel this way?
That's number two. Number two is what's the belief behind it? What would I have to believe to feel that way? Got it.
Yeah. So we can really identify what the real fear is, not the feeling, but the idea behind it. What is the belief? And remember, beliefs are just opinions. They're not facts. They're just an opinion. The world is awesome or the world is horrible is an opinion.
Right.
It's not a fact. It's because it's neither. Okay.
Right.
And then step three, what would you want to believe instead?
Like what would be a better belief?
What would be a better belief? Here's another way of asking that. What belief would allow me to, one, create more momentum, and two, enjoy myself while I'm doing it? Because that's what we want. We want productivity. We want to feel like we're attaining our goals. We're making progress, and we want to enjoy the ride. If we're so stressed out all the time, believe me, I've worked so hard. I've been so stressed out that when I actually got what I wanted, I didn't really care because I was so dang burned out from working so hard. My hair fell out, and so I'm like, oh my gosh. So what belief? I mean, human beings are so powerful that we could actually have everything we want. We just got to get clear on what it is. But what I've noticed is that because the part of our brain that is only invested in survival, only invested in trying to avoid pain, more than creating pleasure, that part of us is always focused on what we're trying to get away from.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have enough time. I don't have enough money. I keep procrastinating. I don't have enough support. We're always focused on what we're trying to get away from. And if I ask people, what do you want? They're like, well, I don't know. I want more time. I want more money. But that's so vague that your brain doesn't know what to do with it. So it doesn't do anything with it. Yes. But, you're very specific when you're listing off what you're unhappy about.
Right. Yeah. In nauseating detail. Right. And by the way, I saw a group just joined us. If you're just joining us, I'm here with Tim Shurr, amazing author of the brand new book, One Belief Away. And your team needs to hear this. And so I would highly encourage you to share it with your team. Melissa, good job. Because you think they need another strategy. Here's a script. And the truth is they're just not going to use it because they have some belief issues. And I think we've already covered some things that would absolutely help them. So feel free to share this. And okay, so we're at number 3, which is, what belief would allow me more joy in production? That's how I changed the question a little bit.
That's good.
Just using your word.
It's good. I like it. Right. That's why we get together and we share our ideas, because 2 brains are better than 1. Yeah. And now you're refining my questions. Like, that's great. I should say it that way. Right. And so that's what you're doing when you're connecting with people. I turned 50 last summer. I'll be 51 in April of this year. And when I turned 50, I decided that I was only going to collaborate with people. I wasn't going to do anything by myself anymore, because I was a lone wolf, me against the world.
Yep.
For the first 50 years. And although I accomplished a lot, I wasn't having as much fun. And you can't get as far as you could if you were with a team, if you were with other people who, were your people, who you connected with and who believed in you and who could give feedback, right? I love feedback. A lot of people take it as criticism, but I love feedback. Yeah. And, there's no failure. There's just feedback. And I want to.
How are you? So I've been just a insatiable desire for improvement. Mm-hmm. But in the past, I struggled with like acknowledgement or the good stuff, like, hey, great job, thanks. Where could I improve? You ever struggle with that, or is that just
Well,
me?
everybody, no, everybody does that. We appreciate it and we really want it, but then when we get it, we feel weird about it, or we're afraid of coming across arrogant because
Right.
secretly we're afraid of losing it again.
Right.
That mistrust that you talked about,
Yeah.
where you kept people at bay. Well, if you let them in a little bit and started to actually feel that connection, you could get hurt again. So I'm just going to keep that at a distance, and it keeps us from having the joy that we say we want.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, we're human beings are in this terrible habit of trying to avoid pain by doing things that create the very pain they're trying to avoid.
Wow. Ooh, powerful. Powerful.
Yeah.
Okay, number 4.
So number 4 is, once you identify the belief that would help create momentum and more joy, then coming from that position of strength, what would be your next bold move? If you're coming from stress, if you're coming from fear, it causes you to focus on a smaller slice of what's possible. Your opportunities are always right there, but it's what you focus on. And what you focus on, you move towards, and then you think that's reality when it's just that's what you're focusing on. And so if you came from a position where you were totally confident, you already have $10 million in the bank, and you have all the satisfaction or adulades or pats on the back or applause that you need, and you're good with that now. You don't need that anymore. Okay, you're focused on serving others now and helping other people feel that way. You started out wanting it for yourself. Now you have it. Now the way that you get lit up is by lighting other people up and helping them believe in themselves. You've switched from me focus to you focus. Once that has happened, which a lot of people struggle with that. Okay, but once that has happened, how would you make bold moves from there? What would your next bold action be that would take you directly to your goal, where you could actually skip a few steps? That's a powerful question to ask. You can find the solution to anything if you ask the right question. And so when you come from that position of strength and you start thinking about it from that point of view, all of a sudden you're like, well, I guess I would make this call. I would call this person. I would call this client, right? I would reach out to this company. If I was really going to be bold, what would Ray do in that situation? Well, he might do, well, that's what I would do then. You start developing role models and mentors. What would they do in that situation? And then that's where you come from. That's a bold move. That's what they call the big domino. You push the big domino over, right? It makes all the other ones fall over, instead of just hitting the little dominoes because we think that's all we really could pull off.
I love that. And I want to point something out, which we've talked about before, but you're saying the next bold move in that situation. You're not saying, what's your big idea? Because a lot of people will be like, if I had that belief, well, I would feed the hungry. I would build water wells in Kenya. And so they come up with this why that sounds really, really great and is awesome, but they don't identify, what can I do today? What can I do this minute on this phone call? What can I do right now? And so I want to point that out, that I love that you said that. What's my next bold move? Is it walking over to that table right there in front of me? Is it picking up the phone and calling Larry, who I've been, hiding from or whatever, versus what's the big idea? Like that's, I think I don't think people lack ideas, but they lack bold moves.
Yeah. That is actually brilliant that you said that. So here's a way to
know. Feel all good. I appreciate it.
Well, I'm just calling it as I see it. Right. So the idea is, if you want to know what your next bold move should be, what scares you? Like you said, walking over to that table, calling Larry, what scares you? Because your biggest breakthroughs are hidden in the places you don't want to go. Your biggest breakthroughs are hidden in the places you don't want to go. And if you identify, I don't want to call that person, or I don't want to connect with that person, I will tell you, there's been a handful of people over the last couple of months that I thought I was not going to really connect with, that I connected with through networking, and they ended up being amazing people in my life. I mean, they were just amazing people. I was like so shocked that, and of course, because I didn't connect with them because they didn't think like me. And so now I actively hang out with people that don't think like me, so that I can have a whole different version of reality. It gives me more pieces of the puzzle so I can see the bigger picture. And so think about, I am putting this off. I've been procrastinating. That's where you go next. where you come from a place of boldness.
I love that.
Yeah.
So it could be doing your first Facebook Live. It could be, getting up or finally being vulnerable on a Facebook Live, right? I mean, that's
tell the truth. Be honest. That's what that means. It doesn't cry until your most embarrassing moment ever. Right? It means that you tell the truth. You're honest about where you're at and what's going on, because that's what people really crave and connect with.
Yeah.
I don't talk about all my shiny accolades. I talk about how many times I've screwed up, all the things that have gone wrong, what I'm freaking out about now.
Yep.
And then people are like, oh, me too. And then I happen to have the solutions because I've been at it for 30 something years.
Right. It's awesome. I love it. And there's a step 5. So just to recap for those, and this is in much bigger detail in your brand new book, One Belief Away, Tim Shurr. But 1, what's my fear? What am I afraid of? 2, what's the belief behind it? Right? What's creating that? And you might have to ask that a few times, right? What would be a better belief, right? What belief would allow me more joy and production? Number 3. And number 4, what would my next bold move be if I had that belief right now? Is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right. And number 5.
Yeah. Number 5.
You guys are getting some major value. Drop a comment. I mean, he's giving you some really, really good stuff in here, and feel free to share this, because I'm just letting you know. I know your team. I know your teammates. They need to hear this, as do you. So, all right.
Everybody does. And if you talk to somebody who's really authentic, they'll admit it. They'll be like, yeah, I need this too. For my Legend Summit, I bring in the world's best. I got Brian Tracy and Les Brown and Dennis Waitley and Bob Proctor. And,
awesome.
We just had Kim Blanchard on, and Dr. Don DiMartini, Tony Alessandro. I mean, these are the biggest names in the business, old school names that have been doing it for 40, 50 years.
Yeah.
And they're still learning. They still have their blind spots. They still have their hiccups and anxiety. So if they have it, Tony Robbins has it. He still has his anxieties and insecurities and stuff that trips him up. Everybody has it, right? So if we say, well, I don't, my team doesn't need that. Well, that's called a blind spot.
Yeah.
So, all right.
For her to hear.
Yeah, that's right. I was sitting in an auditorium one day with one evening with my father-in-law many, many years ago. And we were watching Dr. Wayne Dyer.
Oh, man.
And yeah, it was awesome. I had seen him many times. I got a picture of me and Wayne sitting over there, arm in arm. And Wayne said the funniest thing. He's looked out in the audience. He said something really profound. And he says, no, I bet you're sitting there thinking, boy, I wish so-and-so would have just heard that. They are the ones that really need this. And he says, but trust me, the ones that need it the most are sitting in this room.
Love it.
And my father and I looked at each other and were like, yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
awesome.
Yeah. So number 5 is act. That's it. Act on it. Take action, right? Act on it as fast as you can. My buddy, Joe Vitale, who helped me finish the One Belief Away book, he said, money loves speed. Right? If you get an idea, you have to act on it right away, because too many times you get an idea and you don't act on it. You think to call somebody, you think to apologize, you think to reach out, you think to offer a compliment, like a post, offer a recommendation that wasn't asked for, and then you let it go. And then that was an opportunity that it's like the universe has your back. The universe is on your side, and it keeps trying to cue you up and give you these clues. And usually we go so fast that we're not noticing it. We're not picking it up. Your inner wisdom's like a little kid that's sitting in a football stadium during the Super Bowl trying to get your attention. There's so much noise, you're not hearing it. So when you have that idea, you want to act on it. So when you get your bold move and this is what I need to do, you got about 5 seconds. Mel Robbins says you got 5 seconds before your brain will start to talk you out of it. And in those 5 seconds, pick up the phone and make the call.
Keep you safe.
Yeah. It's going to start trying to keep you safe. That's all your brain's doing. Thank you, brain. I love you, brain. I appreciate you trying to do that. But here's what we're going to do instead, brain. I'm going to intentionally wire myself so that it feels worse to not try. It feels worse to not act than for me to try and it doesn't work out. That's okay. I can learn from it. But if I don't at least find out, that's way worse than the potential of being hurt. And so now all of a sudden your brain says, well, I got to do it because it sucks way more if I don't try. And so, yeah. And so that will set you up for a lifetime of motivation. You associate pleasure to your goal and pain to not going after it. Yeah. Most people associate pain to their goal or pain to the action steps. And so they procrastinate.
Right. Wow. Yeah. That is powerful. I mean, you're seeing a lot of comments on here. A lot of people, this is really helping. I know a lot of people are sharing. Really awesome. So where is the best place that everyone can get this book?
It's a little bookstore called Amazon.
No,
yeah, it's A-M. So you can get it on Amazon. That's the easiest way to grab it. Like 85% of the books sold worldwide are sold on Amazon these days. So, yeah. And then lots of bonuses. So if you end up getting some for your team, depending on the size of your team, I've had people buy 10 books and then Joe and I got some extra resources. If you buy 50 books, I'm going to give you a half hour of one-on coaching with me. If you buy 100 books, I'll get you one-on-one coaching with me and Joe. Which,
that's amazing.
That's a good deal.
That's amazing.
So it's cheaper to buy those 100 books than it is to actually do that. So lots of fun bonuses.
Yeah. So how, if someone goes and they buy the, 50 or 100 or however many, how do they get a hold of you, or how do they submit that?
Yeah, just screenshot it and then tim@timshurr.com.
Okay.
So, or go to my website,
timshurr.com.
Yeah, okay. tim@timshurr.com, or go to timshurr.com and use the form. Just take a little snapshot of your receipt that you got and send it over to us. People are always so surprised that I still give out my direct email, but I like it. I like being able to have one-on-one time, and people assume that, I don't want to bug him. So most people never call anyway.
Yeah.
And when they do, they're like, I can't believe you're answering the phone. Well, I the best way to find out how I can help you.
Yeah. I love that. So that's amazing. That's awesome. And I mean, coaching with you, coaching with Joe, that's incredible. What was the last thing I was going to say? No, it just sounds awesome. Really, really cool. I know, because people keep asking this. Do you have an Audible? Is that out yet?
I did not create an Audible. It's actually interesting because one of my big dreams was to have Nightingale Conant do an audiobook of this. And I turned him down, which I couldn't believe it. They gave me a deal and I turned him down because of COVID. They have their in-house people and they wanted someone else to read the book.
Oh. And
I thought, no, I want to be the one, kind of like Sylvester Stallone in his Rocky movie.
There you go.
No one's going to be able to read or connect or have the emotion or understand the parts to emphasize like me, because I was in the trenches with these real people for, 3 decades. And so I wanted to have that connection with the readers, because I loved when the author would read their own audiobook.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to do that. So I haven't created one yet. The other reason is because I'm creating a course that takes people through the exercises that goes even deeper. And so doing it through the audiobook wouldn't be quite the same experience. So I needed to add more pieces to it. So if you go through the book and you go through the written exercises, it's very powerful, because you got to write a lot of stuff down. And if you're in your car, you'll listen to it and you won't write it down. Because I'm the same way. I like listening to the audio as well. So it's just
I'll come back to that never.
Yeah, that's right. So this is a book where you actually would want to go through the exercises, and it's short and it's fun, and you could do a chapter pretty quickly and learn so much. So so I don't have an audio version of it yet, but we will.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. That was one thing I liked about, when we did our book with Hay House, is they let us record it.
Yeah.
Here in our local, local studio. Yeah. But that's awesome. So One Belief Away on Amazon. If you do end up getting a few copies, shoot an email to tim@timshurr.com. At 10,000 copies, he moves in with you for a weekend or so. But
I'll give you a whole hour, and trust me, that'll transform your life.
There you go.
Yeah, I'll teach you stuff about you that you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that this was holding me back, and I didn't know how amazing and extraordinary I really am. and I thought I was pretty good, but yeah, you have so much inside of you that you haven't even tapped into yet. And so amazing experience.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I know you're on a big world premiere and a big book launch and everything. I appreciate you spending some time with us. Everyone is loving it. I know we're going to have a lot of people into that book very, very quickly. And so I appreciate you coming out here, man.
Yeah, thank you, Ray. I appreciate that. You guys should grab everybody listening, start a book club and use that book. Right? Because you can go through the exercises together, and what you'll notice is that the worries, the beliefs, the fears, the stress is the same. We tend to think that, oh, you wouldn't understand what I've gone through, and if you knew what I was doing, oh, I'd be humiliated. But guess what? Everybody's been going through that too. We just don't talk about it. And so you can go through it on your own, but going through it with others, remember, collaborating, even with something like that, can be so huge, and it'll give you feedback that you might not have picked up on your own. It's hard to see the label when you're in the bottle, right? So getting that feedback from someone else, do you know what you just said right now? And having someone else feed it back to you is huge. So, but I appreciate you having me on your show, Ray. I'm a big fan of you and your family and what you do. So thank you.
Yeah, for sure. And if you love collaboration, then are you on Clubhouse?
No, not yet. I keep hearing about it. Susan Sly was telling me about Clubhouse, and I have not jumped on there yet.
Yeah, we got to get you on Clubhouse because it's just so easy to collaborate. If you want to, sometimes it gets out of hand where there's 47 moderators and 33 dishwashers. And, but it's really simple to collaborate. And so I'd love to do something with you if you're game, and appreciate you coming out here.
All right. So you'll be my first Clubhouse partner.
Nice. All right. Good. All right. Well, I appreciate you so very much. Thank you. If you tuned into this, you probably are well aware that you know people that could really use this information. So feel free to share it. This was a free session. You're not going to get invoiced. That's amazing. And so you got some really good value from Tim Shurr, and I appreciate you joining us.
Absolutely.
Have an amazing day. Bye, guys.